I'm going to tell you something your friends won't tell you because they don't want to hurt your feelings. You're not unlucky. You're not a victim of circumstances, and you don't need more opportunities. What you need is to stop making excuses and start making changes. The reason your life isn't working is because you're not working on the right things, and deep down you know it. Let me ask you this. Are you tired of living the same year over and over again? Are you frustrated watching other people succeed while you stay stuck in the same place? Well, I'm here to tell you that everything can change for you starting today. And it all begins with one simple shift in your thinking. You see, I've spent decades studying successful people and unsuccessful people, and I've discovered something that will shock you. The difference between these two groups isn't talent. It's not luck. It's not even hard work, though that matters. The real difference is how they think. The successful person has developed a mindset that automatically pulls them toward success, while the unsuccessful person has a mindset that keeps them trapped in mediocrity. Now, before you think this is just another feel-good speech, let me tell you something important. This isn't about positive thinking or wishful dreaming. This is about practical, proven principles that can transform your life immediately if you're willing to apply them. I learned this lesson the hard way. When I was 25 years old, I was broke. Not just a little short on cash, but seriously broke. I had pennies in my pocket and more month than money. I was blaming everyone and everything for my situation. I blamed the economy, my boss, my lack of education, even the weather. But then I met a man who changed my life forever. He was a successful businessman, and when I told him about all my problems, he said something that hit me like a lightning bolt. He said, "Jim, if you want things to change, you have to change. If you want things to get better, you have to get better. If you want more, you have to become more." That simple statement changed everything for me because it shifted my entire mindset. Instead of looking outside myself for reasons why my life wasn't working, I started looking inside. Instead of asking why me, I started asking, what can I do differently? This is the first part of the mindset that will change your life immediately. You must accept that you are where you are because of who you are, not because of what happened to you, not because of what others did to you, but because of the choices you made and the person you became through those choices. I know that might be hard to hear, but it's also the most liberating truth you'll ever accept. Because if you're responsible for where you are, that means you have the power to change where you're going. Most people spend their entire lives as victims of their circumstances. They look at their bank account and say, "I don't have enough money." They look at their job and say, "I don't like what I do." They look at their relationships and say, "Nobody understands me." They look at their health and say, "I'm getting older." But successful people look at the same situations differently. They look at their bank account and say, "How can I provide more value?" They look at their job and say, "What skills can I develop?" They look at their relationships and say, "How can I become a better person to be around?" They look at their health and say, "What habits can I change?" You see the difference? It's not about the circumstances. It's about the mindset you bring to those circumstances. Now let me tell you why this mindset will change your life immediately. When you shift from victim thinking to victor thinking, everything starts to change. Your energy changes. Your focus changes. Your actions change. And when your actions change, your results change. Here's what happens when you truly adopt this mindset. Instead of spending your mental energy complaining about what's wrong, you start spending it on what you can do to make things right. Instead of looking for someone to blame, you start looking for something to learn. Instead of making excuses, you start making progress. I remember when I first made this shift, I was working a job I didn't like, making barely enough to get by. But instead of complaining about my boss or my low pay, I started asking different questions. How could I become more valuable? What skills could I develop? What could I learn that would make me worth more in the marketplace? That simple shift in thinking led me to start studying personal development. I began reading books, listening to speakers, and learning everything I could about success. And you know what happened? Within a few years, my income had increased dramatically, not because my circumstances changed, but because I changed. This is the power of mindset. When you change how you think, You change how you act. When you change how you act, you change your results. When you change your results, you change your life. But here's where most people get stuck. They want to change their results without changing their thinking. They want a better life without becoming a better person. They want more success without more personal development. And that's impossible. Success is not something that happens to you. Success is something that happens because of you. It's not about finding the right opportunity. It's about becoming the right person for the opportunity. Let me share with you a simple truth that took me years to understand. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. If you want to change what's happening around you, you must first change what's happening within you. Most people have this backwards. They think that if they could just change their circumstances, they would be happy. If they could just get a better job, make more money, find the right relationship, then everything would be perfect. But that's not how it works. The successful person understands that happiness and success come from the inside out, not the outside in. They work on themselves first, and then their circumstances begin to change. Now, I want you to understand something important. This isn't about becoming someone you're not. This is about becoming who you really are. This is about releasing the potential that's already inside you. This is about removing the mental barriers that are keeping you from the life you deserve. You see, every person is born with incredible potential. But most people never tap into that potential because they're trapped by their own thinking. They've convinced themselves that they're not smart enough, not talented enough, not lucky enough, not connected enough. But I'm here to tell you that none of that matters. What matters is your willingness to change your mindset and start thinking like a successful person thinks. Successful people don't think they're lucky. They think they're responsible. They don't think life happens to them. They think life happens through them. They don't think about what they can't do. They think about what they can do. This mindset shift doesn't require any special talent or education. It doesn't require connections or capital. It just requires a decision to stop thinking like a victim and start thinking like a victor. A decision to stop looking for someone to blame and start looking for something to change. A decision to stop making excuses and start making progress. The beautiful thing about this mindset is that it works immediately. The moment you decide to take responsibility for your life, things begin to change. The moment you decide to focus on what you can control instead of what you can't, your power increases. The moment you decide to work on yourself instead of wishing for better circumstances, your circumstances begin to improve. I've seen this transformation happen thousands of times. People who were stuck, frustrated, and going nowhere suddenly come alive when they adopt this mindset. They start seeing opportunities where they once saw only obstacles. They start finding solutions where they once found only problems. They start creating success where they once experienced only struggle. This is the foundation of everything we're going to talk about. This is the mindset that will change your life immediately. But understanding it is just the beginning. Now you must live it, breathe it, and make it part of who you are. Are you ready to make that shift? Are you ready to stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the architect of your destiny? Are you ready to stop looking outside yourself for answers and start looking within? If you are, then everything is about to change for you. Let me take you deeper into the most powerful part of this mindset transformation. It's called taking complete personal responsibility, and I promise you, this one concept alone can change everything for you starting today. You see, there are two types of people in this world. There are victims and there are victors, and the difference between them isn't what happens to them. The difference is how they respond to what happens to them. Jim, the victim, says, "Look what happened to me." The victor says, "Look what I can do with what happened to me." The victim asks, "Why me?" The victor asks, "How can I use this?" The victim looks for someone to blame. The victor looks for something to learn. Let me tell you about a man I met years ago. He lost his job, his house, and his savings all in the same year. His wife left him and his health was failing. By any measure, he had every reason to be bitter and angry. He had every excuse to give up. But instead of playing the victim, he made a decision that changed everything. He said, I'm going to take full responsibility for rebuilding my life. I'm not going to blame anyone or anything. I'm going to focus on what I can control and what I can change. Within 3 years, this man had built a successful business, restored his health, found love again, and created a life better than he'd ever had before. The difference wasn't his circumstances. The difference was his response to his circumstances. This is what I want you to understand. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to what happens to you. And your response is what determines your destiny. Most people spend their entire lives playing the blame game. They blame their parents for not giving them enough advantages. They blame their teachers for not teaching them enough. They blame their boss for not recognizing their talent. They blame the economy for their financial struggles. They blame their spouse for their relationship problems. But here's what I learned the hard way. As long as you're blaming someone else, you're powerless to change your situation. Because if it's someone else's fault, then only someone else can fix it. But if it's your responsibility, then you have the power to change it. Now let me ask you this. What are you blaming for your current situation? Your lack of education? Your background? Your age? Your location? The economy? Your boss? Your circumstances? Whatever it is, I want you to stop right now. Because every minute you spend blaming is a minute you're not spending changing. Every ounce of energy you put into making excuses is energy you're not putting into making progress. I know this might sound harsh, but I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm here to help you get good results. And the first step to getting good results is to stop making excuses and start taking responsibility. Now, let me be clear about something. Taking responsibility doesn't mean everything that happened to you was your fault. Some things that happen to us are beyond our control. Bad things happen to good people. Unfair things happen. Tragic things happen. But here's what I've learned after decades of studying successful people. The successful person doesn't waste time arguing about what's fair or unfair. They don't spend energy on what should have been or could have been. They focus on what is and what can be. They understand that while they can't control what happened to them, they can control what they do about it. They can't control what others did to them, but they can control how they respond. They can't control their starting point, but they can control their direction. This is the most liberating truth you will ever learn. The moment you take complete responsibility for your life, you become completely free. Free from the need to blame others, free from the need to wait for someone else to change, free from the need for perfect conditions. Let me tell you about responsibility and how it actually works. Responsibility is not a burden, it's a privilege. It's the privilege of being in control of your own destiny. It's the privilege of being able to change your situation instead of just enduring it. When you take responsibility, you stop being a passenger in your own life and start being the driver. You stop waiting for things to happen and start making things happen. You stop hoping for a better future. But most people are afraid of responsibility. They're afraid that if they take responsibility, they'll have to admit they made mistakes. They're afraid that if they take responsibility, they'll have to do something about their situation. Well, let me tell you something. You did make mistakes. We all did. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we become better. The question isn't whether you made mistakes. The question is what you're going to do about them. Are you going to spend the rest of your life making excuses for your mistakes, or are you going to learn from them and move forward? Are you going to use your mistakes as reasons to quit, or are you going to use them as reasons to get better? I made plenty of mistakes in my life. I made poor financial decisions. I made poor relationship choices. I made poor health choices. But I learned something valuable from each mistake. I learned that I was responsible for the choices I made, and I was responsible for making better choices in the future. The successful person understands that mistakes are not failures. They're education. They're not reasons to quit. They're reasons to adjust. They're not proof that you can't succeed. They're proof that you're trying. Now let me share with you the most common excuses people make and why they're keeping you stuck. The first excuse is, I don't have enough education. Well, let me tell you something. Some of the most successful people I know never finished high school. Some of the most unsuccessful people I know have multiple degrees. Education is important, but it's not an excuse. If you need more education, go get it. If you need more skills, develop them. If you need more knowledge, learn it. The second excuse is, I don't have enough money. Here's the truth about money. Money is not the problem. The lack of money is the result of the problem. The problem is usually a lack of value. If you want more money, become more valuable. If you want more opportunities, develop more skills. If you want more success, become more successful. The third excuse is, I don't have enough time. This is my favorite excuse because everyone has the same amount of time. Rich people have 24 hours. Poor people have 24 hours. Successful people have 24 hours. Unsuccessful people have 24 hours. The difference is how they use their time. The fourth excuse is, I don't know the right people. Well, here's a novel idea. Go meet the right people. Go where they go. Do what they do. Read what they read. Learn what they learn. Become the type of person they want to associate with. The fifth excuse is, I'm too old or I'm too young. Let me tell you something. Age is not an excuse. Colonel Sanders was 65 when he started KFC. Mark Zuckerberg was 19 when he started Facebook. Success doesn't care about your age. It cares about your attitude. Every excuse you make is a choice. You're choosing to focus on what you can't do instead of what you can do. You're choosing to focus on what you don't have instead of what you do have. You're choosing to focus on your limitations instead of your possibility. But here's what happens when you stop making excuses and start taking responsibility. Your whole world changes. Instead of looking for reasons why you can't, you start looking for ways that you can. Instead of looking for what's wrong, you start looking for what's possible. When you take responsibility, you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being a victor over your circumstances. You stop waiting for your ship to come in and start swimming out to meet it. You stop hoping for a lucky break and start creating your own luck. The person who takes responsibility understands that they are the author of their own story. They're not waiting for someone else to write their script. They're not hoping for a better plot. They're taking the pen and writing their own success story. This is what I want you to understand. Your life is not happening to you. Your life is happening because of you. Every choice you make, every action you take, every thought you think is creating your future. And if you don't like the future you're creating, you have the power to change it. But it starts with taking responsibility. It starts with looking in the mirror and saying, I am where I am because of the choices I've made. And I'm going to be where I want to be because of the choices I make from now on. Are you ready to stop making excuses and start taking responsibility? Are you ready to stop being a victim and start being a victor? Are you ready to stop waiting for your life to change and start changing your life? If you are, then you're ready for the next part of this mindset transformation, because once you take responsibility, the next step is to start working on the most important project you'll ever work on, and that project is you. Here's something that will change everything for you. Let me share with you the most important investment you'll ever make. It's not in stocks or real estate or gold. It's not in a business or a career. The most important investment you'll ever make is in yourself. I learned this lesson early in my journey when my mentor told me something that changed my entire approach to success. He said, Jim, if you work hard on your job, you can make a living. But if you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. At first, I didn't understand what he meant. I thought success was about working harder, putting in more hours, trying to impress the boss. But what he was teaching me was something much more profound. He was teaching me that your income can only grow as fast as you grow. Your success can only expand as much as you expand. Your life can only get better when you get better. This is the philosophy of constant growth, and it's the third pillar of the mindset that will transform your life immediately. Most people think that if they just work hard enough at their job, success will follow. But that's not how it works. Success follows personal development always. Let me ask you this. How are you doing? What did you do yesterday to become a better person than you were the day before? What did you learn? What skill did you develop? What book did you read? What new idea did you consider? What fear did you face? What comfort zone did you step out of? If you can't answer that question, then you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you're dying. There is no standing still in life. You're either moving forward or you're moving backward. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. The successful person understands this. They know that they must constantly be working on themselves. They must constantly be learning, growing, developing, and improving. Not just in their spare time, not just when they feel like it, but every single day. Now let me tell you why this is so important. In today's world, everything is changing rapidly. Technology is advancing, markets are shifting, industries are transforming. What was valuable yesterday might be worthless tomorrow. What was cutting edge last year might be obsolete next year. The only way to stay relevant, the only way to stay valuable, the only way to stay successful is to keep growing. You must constantly be adding to your skills, your knowledge, your abilities, and your value. But here's what most people do. They get a job, they learn what they need to know to do that job, and then they stop learning. They stop growing. They stop developing. They coast for the next 20 or 30 years, and then they wonder why they're not getting ahead. I call this the arrival syndrome. They think they've arrived. They think they know enough. They think they've learned enough. They think they've grown enough. But in a rapidly changing world, if you stop growing, you start dying. The successful person never arrives. They're always becoming. They're always learning. They're always growing. They understand that personal development is not a destination, it's a journey. It's not something you do once, it's something you do for life. Let me share with you what I mean by working on yourself. It means reading books that challenge your thinking. It means listening to speakers who inspire you to be better. It means attending seminars that teach you new skills. It means having conversations with people who are more successful than you. It means studying successful people and learning what they do differently. It means examining your own habits and behaviors and asking yourself, is this helping me or hurting me? It means being honest about your weaknesses and doing something about them. When I started my journey of personal development, I was amazed at how much I didn't know. I thought I knew a lot, but the more I learned, the more I realized how much more there was to learn. And that's when I fell in love with learning. I discovered that learning is not just about gathering information. It's about transformation. Every book you read, every seminar you attend, every conversation you have with a successful person has the potential to change your life. But only if you apply what you learn. This is where most people fail. They gather information, but they don't apply it. They learn new concepts, but they don't implement them. They get excited about new ideas, but they don't act on them. And information without application is just entertainment. The successful person understands that knowledge is not power, applied knowledge is power. They don't just learn for the sake of learning, they learn for the sake of improving. They don't just gather information, they gather information and then they use it to become better. Now, let me tell you about the different areas where you need to focus your personal development. The first area is your skills. What skills do you need to develop to become more valuable in the marketplace? What skills do you need to advance in your career? What skills do you need to start your own business? Don't just think about technical skills. Think about people skills. Think about communication skills. Think about leadership skills. Think about problem-solving skills. Think about creativity skills. The more skills you have, the more valuable you become. The second area is your knowledge. What do you need to know to be successful in your field? What do you need to know about your industry? What do you need to know about your market? What do you need to know about your customers? But don't just focus on knowledge related to your work. Expand your knowledge in all areas of life. Learn about health and fitness. Learn about relationships and communication. Learn about money and investing. Learn about philosophy and psychology. The more you know, the better decisions you can make. The third area is your character. This is perhaps the most important area of all. Your character is who you are when nobody is watching. It's your integrity, your honesty, your reliability, your work ethic, your attitude. You can have all the skills and knowledge in the world, but if you don't have character, you won't be successful in the long run. People want to do business with people they trust. They want to work with people they respect. They want to follow people they admire. The fourth area is your health. Your health is your foundation. If you don't have your health, nothing else matters. You can't enjoy success if you're sick. You can't pursue your dreams if you don't have energy. You can't take care of others if you don't take care of yourself. So the successful person understands that health is not just about avoiding disease. It's about having the energy and vitality to pursue your goals. It's about having the strength and endurance to work hard when you need to. It's about having the mental clarity to make good decisions. Now let me address the biggest obstacle to personal development. It's not lack of time. It's not lack of money. It's not lack of resources. The biggest obstacle is resistance to change. Most people are comfortable with who they are. They're comfortable with their current level of knowledge, their current level of skills, their current level of success. They don't want to challenge themselves. They don't want to stretch themselves. They don't want to grow. But comfort is the enemy of greatness. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Comfort is the enemy of success. If you want to have what you've never had, you must do what you've never done. If you want to become who you've never been, you must learn. The successful person is comfortable being uncomfortable. They're comfortable with the challenge of learning something new. They're comfortable with the struggle of developing a new skill. They're comfortable with the uncertainty of trying something different. They understand that growth requires discomfort. They understand that improvement requires effort. They understand that becoming better requires leaving who you are to become who you can be. Let me tell you about the compound effect of personal development. Just like money compounds over time, your skills and knowledge compound over time. The book you read today builds on the book you read yesterday. The skill you develop this month builds on the skill you developed last month. Over time, these small improvements add up to massive changes. The person who reads 30 minutes a day will read over 100 books in 5 years. The person who learns one new skill per year will have 10 new skills in 10 years. The person who improves just 1% each day will be 37 times better in 1 year. This is the power of constant growth. It's not about making huge changes overnight. It's about making small improvements consistently over time. It's about becoming a little bit better each day, each week, each month, each year. The unsuccessful person looks for the quick fix. They look for the magic bullet. They look for the shortcut. They want to change their life overnight without changing themselves. But that's not how it works. The successful person understands that success is a process, not an event. It's a journey, not a destination. It's about becoming, not just achieving. They're patient with the process because they understand that the process is what creates the results. Now, let me give you some practical advice for implementing this philosophy of constant growth. First, make personal development a priority. Don't wait until you have time, make time. Don't wait until you have money, start with free resources. Don't wait until you feel like it, do it whether you feel like it or not. Second, create a personal development plan. Decide what areas you want to improve. Set specific goals for your growth. Choose specific books to read, courses to take, skills to develop. Without a plan, personal development becomes random and ineffective. Third, make personal development a habit. Do something every day to improve yourself. Read for 30 minutes. Listen to educational audio. Practice a new skill. Reflect on your progress. Make it as automatic as brushing your teeth. Fourth, apply what you learn. Don't just collect information, use it. Don't just learn new concepts, implement them. Don't just get excited about new ideas, act on them. Remember, knowledge without application is just entertainment. Fifth, be patient with the process. Personal development is not a sprint, it's a marathon. The changes might not be visible immediately, but they're happening. Trust the process. Stay consistent. Keep growing. The person who embraces this philosophy of constant growth will never be the same. They will continually become more valuable, more skilled, more knowledgeable, more capable. They will create opportunities that others can't even see. They will solve problems that others can't even understand. Are you ready to make this commitment to constant growth? Are you ready to invest in yourself? Are you ready to become the person you need to be to have the life you want? If you are, then you're ready for the next part of this transformation. Because once you commit to growing, the next step is to turn that growth into daily actions that will create the results you want. Listen carefully, because we come to the heart of everything. All the mindset shifts, all the responsibility, all the personal development in the world won't help you unless you master this one critical element. And that element is the discipline of daily actions. You see, success is not about what you do occasionally. Success is about what you do consistently. It's not about the spectacular moments. It's about the simple moments, repeated day after day, that create spectacular results. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is not that successful people do extraordinary things. The difference is that successful people do ordinary things extraordinarily well, and they do them every single day. Most people think success is complicated. They think it requires some special talent, some unique opportunity, some stroke of luck. But I've studied successful people for decades, and I can tell you that success is actually quite simple. It's just not easy. Success is simple because it's based on simple disciplines practiced every day. But it's not easy because it requires you to do things when you don't feel like doing them. It requires you to be consistent when you'd rather be comfortable. It requires you to be disciplined when you'd rather be lazy. The successful person understands that small disciplines create major accomplishments. The unsuccessful person believes that small disciplines don't matter. And that's the difference between success and failure. Let me give you an example. The difference between being healthy and being unhealthy is not one meal. It's not one workout. It's not one day of good choices. The difference is the accumulation of small daily choices over time. The person who eats an apple every day for a year will be healthier than the person who eats a donut every day for a year. Not because one apple makes a huge difference, but because 365 apples make a huge difference. Not because one donut ruins your health, but because 365 donuts ruin your health. The same principle applies to every area of your life. The difference between being wealthy and being poor is not one investment. It's not one business deal. It's not one financial decision. The difference is the accumulation of small daily financial disciplines over time. The person who saves $10 every day for 30 years will have over $100,000. The person who spends an extra $10 every day for 30 years will be $100,000 poorer. Same amount of money, opposite results, all based on daily discipline. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Success is not about perfection. It's about consistency. You don't have to be perfect every day. You just have to be consistent most days. You don't have to do everything right. You just have to do the important things right. The successful person knows which activities move them toward their goals and which activities move them away from their goals. They spend most of their time on the activities that move them forward, and they minimize the time they spend on activities that move them backward. But most people have this backwards. They spend most of their time on activities that don't matter and very little time on activities that do matter. They're busy, but they're not productive. They're active, but they're not effective. Let me ask you this. What are the 3 most important activities you could do every day that would move you closer to your goals? What are the 3 disciplines that if you practiced them consistently would transform your life? For most people, these might be things like reading for personal development, exercising for health, saving money for financial security, spending quality time with family, or working on their most important project. The successful person identifies these critical activities and makes them non-negotiable. They don't do them when they feel like it. They do them whether they feel like it or not. They don't do them when it's convenient. They do them regardless of convenience. This is what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. The unsuccessful person is controlled by their feelings. If they feel like exercising, they exercise. If they don't feel like exercising, they don't exercise. If they feel like working on their goals, they work on their goals. If they don't feel like working on their goals, but the successful person is controlled by their commitments, not their feelings. They do what they committed to do regardless of how they feel. They understand that feelings are temporary, but results are permanent. Now let me share with you the most important principle of daily discipline. It's this: you must do the most important things first. Don't wait until later in the day. Don't wait until you have more time. Don't wait until you feel like it. Do the most important things first while you still have the energy and willpower to do them. Most people do this backwards. They do the easy things first and leave the important things until later. They check their email first and read their development book later. They watch TV first and exercise later. They socialize first and work on their goals later. But by the time later comes, they're tired, they're distracted, they're out of willpower. So the important things don't get done. Day after day, week after week, month after month, the important things get pushed aside for the urgent things, the easy things, the fun things. The successful person does the important things first. They read before they check email. They exercise before they watch TV. They work on their goals before they socialize. They understand that if they don't do the important things first, they might not do them at all. This is called the principle of first things first. And it's one of the most powerful success principles you can apply. When you do the most important things first, you guarantee that they get done. When you do the most important things first, you start your day with a sense of accomplishment. When you do the most important things first, you build momentum for the rest of your day. But here's the challenge. The most important things are usually not the most urgent things. The most important things are usually not the most fun things. The most important things are usually not the easiest things. The most important things are usually the things that require discipline, effort, and commitment. Reading a book is more important than watching TV, but watching TV is more fun. Exercising is more important than sleeping in, but sleeping in is more comfortable. Working on your goals is more important than socializing, but socializing is more enjoyable. The successful person does the important things anyway. They understand that the price of discipline weighs ounces, but the price of regret weighs tons. They understand that the pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts forever. Now let me address the biggest obstacle to daily discipline. It's not lack of time. It's not lack of knowledge. It's not lack of resources. The biggest obstacle to daily discipline is the gap between knowing and doing. Most people know what they should do. They know they should eat better. They know they should exercise more. They know they should save money. They know they should read more. They know they should work on their goals. But knowing and doing are two different things. The successful person has learned to bridge the gap between knowing and doing. They've learned to take action on what they know. They've learned to turn knowledge into habits. They've learned to turn good intentions into good results. How do you bridge this gap? First, you must make a commitment. Not just a wish or a hope or a good intention, a commitment. A commitment is a promise you make to yourself that you will not break, regardless of how you feel. Second, you must start small. Don't try to change everything at once. Pick one or two important disciplines and focus on them until they become habits. Don't try to read for 2 hours a day if you haven't been reading at all. Start with 15 minutes a day. Don't try to exercise for an hour if you haven't been exercising at all. Start with 15 minutes a day. Third, you must be consistent. It's better to do a little bit every day than to do a lot once in a while. It's better to read for 15 minutes every day than to read for 3 hours once a week. It's better to exercise for 20 minutes every day than to exercise for 2 hours once a week. Fourth, you must track your progress. What gets measured gets managed. What gets tracked gets done. Keep a simple record of your daily disciplines. Check off each day that you complete them. This simple act of tracking will help you stay consistent. Fifth, you must reward yourself for consistency. When you complete a week of daily disciplines, reward yourself. When you complete a month, reward yourself. When you complete 90 days, reward yourself. Celebrate your progress and your commitment. Now let me tell you about the compound effect of daily disciplines. Just like money compounds over time, your daily disciplines compound over time. The small actions you take today might not seem significant, but over months and years, they create massive results. The person who reads for 30 minutes every day will read over 100 books in 5 years. The person who exercises for 30 minutes every day will be in excellent shape in 1 year. The person who saves $50 every week will have over $13,000 in 5 years. These might seem like small actions, but they create big results, not overnight but over time, not immediately but eventually. The key is to trust the process and stay consistent. Most people give up too soon. They start with great enthusiasm, but when they don't see immediate results, they quit. They don't understand that success is like growing a tree. You plant the seed, you water it every day, you give it sunlight, and for months it looks like nothing is happening, but underground, the roots are growing, the foundation is being built, and then suddenly the tree begins to grow, and it grows rapidly. Your daily disciplines are like watering the tree. You might not see immediate results, but you're building the foundation for future success. You're creating the habits that will serve you for the rest of your life. The successful person understands this. They don't look for immediate gratification. They look for long-term transformation. They don't expect overnight success. They expect over time success. They plant today what they want to harvest tomorrow. Are you ready to embrace the discipline of daily actions? Are you ready to do the small things that create big results? Are you ready to be consistent when you'd rather be comfortable? Are you ready to do what successful people do? If you are, then you're ready for the final part of this transformation, because once you master daily discipline, the next step is to maintain that discipline and create the extraordinary life you deserve. Here's what I want you to see. Everything we've talked about leads to this moment. The moment when you decide to step into the person you were meant to become and create the extraordinary life you deserve. Right now you have a choice. You can go back to the way things were, or you can move forward to the way things can be. You can stay comfortable with familiar problems, or you can embrace the challenge of creating new possibilities. I want you to think about your life 1 year from today. If you apply everything we've discussed, if you take complete responsibility, if you commit to constant growth, if you practice daily disciplines, what would your life look like? Your relationships would be stronger because you'd be a better person to be around. Your health would be better because you'd be taking care of yourself. Your finances would improve because you'd be more valuable in the marketplace. Your confidence would grow because you'd be accomplishing your goals. But here's the key. This transformation doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. It happens because you decide to make it happen. It happens because you choose to become the architect of your own destiny. The unsuccessful person lives by accident. They hope things will get better. They wish for a lucky break. They wait for someone to rescue them. They drift through life without direction, without purpose, without a plan. But the successful person lives by design. They decide what they want. They create a plan to get it. They take action on that plan. They adjust when necessary. They persist until they succeed. This is what I want for you. I want you to stop living by accident and start living by design. I want you to stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the creator of your circumstances. But I must warn you about something. When you start changing, when you start growing, when you start succeeding, not everyone will be happy for you. Some people will try to pull you back to where you were. Some people will tell you that you're changing too much. Some people will try to convince you to give up. Don't listen to them. Remember that misery loves company, but so does success. Surround yourself with people who support your growth. Find mentors who challenge you to become better. Associate with people who are going where you want to go. Your transformation starts today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you have more time or more money or better circumstances. Today, right now, in this moment. The question is not whether you can change your life. The question is whether you will change your life. You have everything you need. You have the knowledge, you have the principles, you have the power. All you need now is the decision. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, apply what you've learned. Take responsibility for everything in your life. Work on yourself every day. Practice the daily disciplines that move you toward your goals. And watch what happens. Your life can change immediately, not because your circumstances change immediately, but because you change immediately. And when you change, everything changes. The choice is yours. The power is yours. The time is now. What are you going to do?